everyone to the March Local Planning Committee meeting. We're glad to be here. Hello, hello. We know we're going to have some planned absences. Both Jim and Mary are not able to join us, but we're expecting both David and Mary are not going to be able to join us, but we're expecting, Jim and Brian remotely. I don't quite see them there yet, but regardless, in person, we have a majority. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we do have a quorum to meet. So
Great.
hopefully we'll get the others on too. Welcome, everyone. Hello. Happy Election Day. So, just bringing up the agenda. First item of business is to approve our February minutes, which were distributed by the email.
So moved.
Second?
So we have to take a roll, well, there's no we'll just take a roll call in practice, just to practice. You want to start?
Do you want to start? Ed? Yes?
Margot Fenn, yes.
Joyce McIntyre, yes.
Garrett Curran, yes.
Bernadette Waystack, yes.
Barbara Nickerson, yes.
Cool. All right. Chugging through the agenda here. The second thing on our agenda is update on the reorganized Google Drive, which Brian and David dug into with the help of Garrett. Thank you. It's still there, same link, sort of some different logical organization. Thank you to the committee for doing that. Good. Oh, I'm glad. User-friendly, good. Thank you. Go team. I appreciate.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, thank you, Brian and David, for doing that.
Joyce, quick question.
Yes.
I'm assuming when we meet, you want all of our meeting notes from when we meet with our
Yeah.
respective.
Yes.
Put that on there, right?
There is, in fact, a file. You can't mess it up. Don't worry. But as long as you put it
Give me
there,
time.
it's fine.
Put it in there, and it's out, just organize, somebody will.
Yeah. Even if you get it there, or if you think you get it there, don't worry. But there is a file that I think it says visioning record or something like
Yep.
that. There's a little sub-file there.
Okay.
That.
Great, thank you.
Yes. So any notes you want to take, if anything on behalf of the committee that you ever did, you could drop in there.
Actually, I think I see it under a file called Discovery.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Remind me of the link. 'Cause
We can send it to you via email.
Okay, that would be great.
I'll
I
do
haven't
that
been-
to you.
I haven't been.
Yeah,
been in
Yeah,
there
I'm
a
gonna
long
do-
My left-hand man, thank you. Yes, for doing that. Thank you, Vice Chair Garrett. And then moving right along, so, oh, hello. Who's present?
Hi, it's Jim.
Hey,
Hi, it's Jim
Jim.
Nickman. I'm on the phone. I can see my picture of myself, but I don't see you guys. So I'm not sure I caught on right, but I can hear you.
Wonderful that you can hear us. Thank you for joining.
Sure.
Awesome. All right,
Very
so
much,
we're in
yeah.
item C of the agenda, which is we're going to review the dates for the in-person visioning events. So just a reminder, that's March 23rd. That's 10 to 12 at the Cultural Center. Saturday, April 6th, 1 to 3 at the Community Center. There is no wrong way to spread the word. Thank you, Christine and Mary, Christine's been papering the town with Wow.
Very favorite town.
Thank you for spreading the word. The dates are on our website. The dates were blasted out to a lot of the subscription lists in the town, which is awesome. The best we can, we've been getting it posted to the socials, so various Harwich social media stuff, so that's out.
It was in the Chronicle,
Yay!
in the Town Hall section.
Amazing.
Yeah, they did a nice little thing.
Wonderful. So I don't think we can talk about it too much, so we'll keep hitting that as much as we can. Just reminder of those dates. Item D, because E and F are really going to be our big discussion agenda points, but item D on the agenda, if Christine, you're welcome to join us, Christine. You don't have to be all over in Siberia there. We wanted to get an update on that. I know Garrett and team have been working really hard on the website, and thank you. Those were like some cool changes. And just like want to share any limitations, roadblocks. We're trying to, the dream is to share the postcard data and eventually the survey data, but
Yeah, I
wanna
think
give us an update?
we've had a few different discussions and meetings with Christine and some of the team. She was kind enough to
take the torch and drive it with IT to,
Thank you.
and kind of the communication team to make sure that we get some updates on the page and the visioning stuff and kind of the new brand out there. So thank you very much. I think you probably have some updates on what we can and can't do, and maybe,
Yes, I do.
Cool.
So, anyway,
Do you want to join us at the mic
Yeah,
just
we
for the, just for our remote friends? Yes.
I love how we all were like, rumble, rumble, rumble. Same time.
just really quick, some of, the town is updating its website.
Yeah.
So we had some limitations in terms of content that can be uploaded. So
Hmm.
I'll continue to work with Garrett and Mary in terms of how to, maybe package some information in PDF
Right.
style that we can just pop up as a quick link. But some of the content was, we're not able to do that in terms of the transition of the new launch of the website that will happen in June. So
Awesome. There were, Erica from Tigenbund did have the postcard data in a PDF. So,
Okay.
And we can post that. That's
got it.
That we can do.
Yeah, it's in your email, but I can send it to you again if you want.
Great.
Because again, just for full transparency of the process, we're always trying to share as much of the information. It is in there in a PDF.
Cool.
We don't have the survey data yet, finalized, closed,
But we have
but
the postcard
we have the
stuff in
postcard. So
EDU.
that'd be
Okay.
super fun to put up there if we
Absolutely.
could. That'd be
So
awesome.
we can do that.
And just a reminder to everyone, and the
Go ahead.
let me finish with that, about the survey, though officially opening, still open, our marketing efforts and our discussion efforts are all aimed at the engagement sessions. So, but if a wayward soul finds themselves to the survey, they can still fill it out. But out of respect for the housing production plan that needs to advertise their survey, and then obviously the boat keeps moving, we're focused on the community engagement sessions, but it's still open there if someone feels strongly about it.
Did we have some additional people join?
I think Brian joined us. I see both Brian and Jim. Could you confirm? I know Jim is confirmed, but we don't see you, Brian, but we see your presence.
I had
There you
errors with
are.
my camera, but I'm here now.
Cool. Thank you. Just for the roll call, so we have plenty of folk here. That's awesome. Thank you both for joining. That's awesome.
Is there an update on how many responses we've gotten?
I did not torture Erica about that. We were close to 1,000 the last time I asked, which, I think is actually pretty darn good for a survey of that length. Of course, we want, 12,000 respondents, but, I think it was over 1,000.
And in the little article notice in the Chronicle, they mentioned the survey, but they didn't give the link. They referred you to our
Website?
page.
Yeah, actually, the survey link is on the website, so if someone finds it, at least it's not a total dead end. Yeah, which is cool. So we're getting there. We're doing it.
And we did update the flyer onto the LCP page as
Saw
well
that.
as the news highlights on the town's website.
So it's been refreshed to the top of the pile, driving the engagement to the sessions that we're trying to drive it to.
Awesome. Any more updates, thoughts on getting the word out, all that kind of stuff? Cool. Okay, moving on. Agenda item E is Ed was going to update us on a town meeting warrant article that he posted
Yeah.
that kind of potentially affects some of our work, and it was just appropriate to discuss it here.
Yeah,
So,
it's an amendment to the Housing Trust bylaw. And it was something that several towns, other towns on the Cape and Islands have enacted. And I was being requested by our state senator to put something forward here in Harwich. It's actually, it's actually pretty much plagiarized from the article that was on the Orleans town town meeting warrant last year, and which has been actually through the process and enacted by the state legislature, and I use their language because it's already been approved, and rather than try something new. All I did was change it to affect the parts of our bylaw which are sort of in a different construction than are in Orleans. The intent of it is to give the Housing Trust the latitude to broaden the scope of the type of housing they can be a participant in. It doesn't provide any funding source to do that, but it gives them the allowance. Right now, under the way it was enacted, it refers to their purpose being what was spelled out in the state general law, which limits it to only participating in housing at either 80% of AMI or 100%.
So big A,
And it's
affordable
really-
housing. Yep.
Yeah, and
Yep.
it's really confusing why they use the two different figures, but one has to do with low and moderate housing, and the other has to do with what's referred to as community housing. And I don't fully understand the distinction, but anyway, what this does is would allow them to participate in housing programs that are aimed at benefiting folks at income levels between 80% and 200% of AMI. That sort of missing middle, and it defines that group as being, or that effort as being attainable housing, to separate it from affordable. And it just provides some flexibility and another potential tool in the toolbox for the Housing Trust to use.
A question, so thank you for that. And, I wanted to make sure that Karen and Allison heard that too, because Karen, it may, affect potentially how the HPP plan, and anyway, could you tell us a little bit about the sort of rules of town meeting? So it comes, for this kind of warrant. So if it's put forth in the warrant at town meeting, what does it need to pass? What does that mean? Is it binding then? Does it have to go to the ballot itself, or, yeah?
No, it's a bylaw. Well, it's two things, actually. It's an amendment of our bylaw, which
The
was
trusts bylaw.
trust bylaw,
Okay.
which was initially enacted under the provisions of state law, and that initial bylaw was submitted to the state legislature for approval. And because this is amending that, it will also, it is, and because it's different than is laid out in state law on the limitations of a housing trust, it needs to be considered special legislation or a home rule petition. So it is both a home rule petition and a bylaw amendment. If it passes town meeting, it'll then be submitted to our legislators, who will put it forth in the general court. And given that the language is duplicative of Orleans, it should move fairly quickly. And the way it's written is it becomes effective on ratification by the state, the general court.
Okay.
It doesn't have to come back for a vote of the people or a second vote of the town meeting.
Okay.
And it's just a majority vote at town
Just
meeting.
a majority vote.
Majority vote. Questions, either online or from the group?
Can you explain to me how the trust would handle something like this when we've got I understand the big A
Yeah,
and stuff, and this is more towards the little a,
yeah.
and how do you keep that for the in-town little a when there are gonna be people that come across the bridge that are gonna want that housing also?
Well,
And I don't mean for working.
no, I know. Sort of in my wildest envisioning of how this would work is if either the state were to make money available to the housing trust without the limitations of the low and moderate restriction, or if, I don't know, some other reason the
Yeah.
town wound
Yeah.
up with
There's money.
a
Yeah.
couple $1 million
Yeah.
to put into housing. It could conceivably, the town itself develop a project, use that money, and because the housing trust has the ability to carry a mortgage, which the town can't, the town, if it's going to do something like that, it has to get bond approval from both town meeting, but the housing trust can move ahead. So, conceivably, they could, take, I don't know, if they had about $3 million of money that became available for housing, and take a mortgage out for $3 million, they'd have $6 million to build some housing, and then it would be up to them to figure out how to apportion that by income availability. Some of it could be
Restricted, I mean, they
well, it
can
could
create
all-
some sort
because
of
it's all
restrictions, yeah.
town funds, it could all be restricted to town residents or
right.
people who work in town, or, some sort of restriction
Oh,
like
it
that.
can, okay.
But, they could then decide whether, okay, 5 of the units will be available for low income, 5 of the units will be available for, I don't know, the 80 to 140 group, and 5 units and it would be based on what the housing trust view of need by income category.
Okay, so this would probably be all rental, I'm assuming?
Well, in that sort of scenario, rental, and that's principally because I have a tendency to look at what we need, and what would be most useful is providing a large amount of rental housing to provide for
Right,
housing.
that's what we talked about
Yeah,
last time,
but-
that's what I was asking.
But if I understand in terms of increasing, like broadening the scope of the charter, so to speak, of the trust, I don't think it's it's more taking action on behalf of a different income level
Yeah.
and a variety of,
Doesn't,
a
you know,
variety of actions, right?
It doesn't, lock us into only dealing with rental housing. It can also be put into ownership housing. I'm not exactly sure how that works.
Right. But it's broadening the kind of the scope of
Yeah.
potentially the trust. And is there, I just thought there was a useful way to talk about this, as we are like so driven by housing in our local, in our long-term plan, and anticipating of town meeting. Is I assume the trust itself is supportive, or?
Yeah, actually, interestingly enough, I had a call from Larry Ballantyne asking me to be at their meeting next Tuesday, which I'm going to be in California, so it's being bumped. They're bumping their meeting to the next week, I think, or they have another meeting the next week, which
Sure.
I'm going to go to.
Okay.
He is very enthusiastic about it, and hopefully the rest of the trust will be also.
Okay.
But I'm going to go and give them the pitch, too. He's enthusiastic about it because he's also president of Outer Cape Health, and their principal problem of recruiting people is finding housing for them,
Everybody.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, since that's new and relevant to what we're doing, wanted to make sure we covered it here. Thank you, Ed. All right, our big agenda item is kind of digging in, and thank you, Ms. Cock, for being here from Tigan Bond. Welcome. Did you have something else, Ed?
Nice to meet you all virtually.
Sorry, Ed had just one more thing to say. Go ahead, Ed.
And I was fully, as I did this, I was fully aware that maybe I was sort of getting out in front of the rest of the committee on this, being that I'm a member of the committee, but, I've been dealing with a lot of housing activists and groups on the Cape, and, I figured, what the hell, it's just another, it's just
Take a shot.
another tool for the housing trust, and,
It's all right.
it's very much of interest of both our state representative and our state senator to have
Be
all the
Yeah,
towns
yeah,
in their
yeah.
district take this up.
I mean, I think that's one of the things we've heard that is supported by our data gathering so far is a need for a lot of different tools to address, housing availability in Harwich. So, I mean, it sounds smart. Thank you. And interesting and with, broadening the scope. So more to come. Any questions for Ed or anything else before we move on?
Brian, you good?
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, I was going to want to ask one crazy question.
All right.
Is 100%, is 100% high enough? Or is it worth
It's 200%.
building that parameter up? It is 200.
It boosted up to 200%. Not 100%. In Orleans, they chose 200%. Nantucket has chosen 220%.
The Nantucket markup, that makes sense.
For obvious reasons.
1,000%.
So,
Okay.
okay,
You answered my question.
all right.
Thank you.
Cool. Jim, you good too?
I assume Jim's good.
Jim's great.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Any other questions about that? All right, something to keep on your radar as we approach town meeting. All right, Ally, sorry. Give it to you and then take it away from you. So Ally Cooks from Taigampong, she's Sharon's colleague. Sharon is away this week, and Ally's going to kind of take us through the preliminary plan, and this is actually, we have time to modify this, which is important. So she's going to take us through kind of the preliminary plan for the community engagement session. The first one, we would anticipate the second one would be similar, probably a few tweaks, but they're kind of repeating. They're not in focus any different. And just before, Ally, I want to give it over to you a few things that I highlighted in the agenda that are discussion points. She's going to take us through like all the planning for it. Some of the things we had kind of included in the agenda after Christine and Sharon and I had met was, obviously kicking off with the visioning statement, our survey data. In kind of putting our heads together, we want to kind of include a nod of fiscal responsibility and sort of financial planning references, kind of anticipating who's going to be there. But the big thing that, in addition to what Ally's going to bring to the discussion, is what the sense of was about how many stations, and as what we're starting with for the groups to deliberate on is 4 categories, and you can think on this and marinate a little bit while Ally takes us through the preliminary plan. Housing being one, land use / growth management, a separate category of open space, and then a separate category of community services. And that I would want to bring that to the brain trust here about what exactly that would look like and the pros and cons, and if there's an appetite for 3 stations versus 4. So just with that, Ally, I want to give it to you.
Okay, great. Can everybody hear me okay?
We can hear you great. Yeah, we can see you too.
Good. Good, okay. So, I'm trying to think of where would be a good place to start. I think what I might do is share a quick version of the proposed agenda that I put together and shared with Karen and Christine early last week, just to get a rundown of potential flow for the day of both of these workshops for the span of 2 hours. So let me see. I haven't used this platform in quite a while, so hopefully I can share the right screens. Bear with me for one second.
Take your time. We understand. Don't panic. It's okay.
Nah, panic. Pressure's on.
I have a feeling I'm going to share the wrong one, but hang on, let me see here. Okay, can everybody see
Not yet.
this
Not yet.
agenda?
Not yet.
Okay. Oh, do I need to get permission on my end through?
Looks like you have presenter
The account.
permission now.
Okay, let me try.
Are you just hitting share at the bottom of the screen down there?
There you go.
How about
Oh, yeah, looking
Okay.
good. If you want to maybe zoom in a
Okay.
bit, dear, that'd be great.
Yes.
There we go.
How is that?
Nice. Very strong. Strong work.
Perfect. So, so this is a proposed agenda. This is pretty standard for other visioning workshops we've done. Kind of follows the flow of workshops we've done in Orleans. We had one a couple last month. So to start, we have a breakdown of about 2 hours. So various items broken down into smaller sections of time, with the biggest chunk of time, about an hour, dedicated to time for folks to navigate and flow between each of the boards. So we have about 5 minutes scheduled for welcome and introductions from the committee and Ty and Bond. Then we have a proposed introductory presentation at the very beginning. Let me just pull up my notes on the side here. So Erica is working on this presentation, and it's not quite done yet, but I think that the goal of this would be to, let me find my notes here. So the goal of the presentation would to give an overview of the existing community initiatives to date. So the LCP, the Open Space and Recreation Plan and Housing Production Plan, and just give the public a brief overview of the status of each of those and what the major goals are for those 3 plans, and connect it to how this relates to the visioning workshop that they're attending. Then a slide or 2 about the public outreach to date. So postcard mailings, the community survey, which I know will be done by that time. Hope I'm remembering if that closes on the 16th of March. I'm not sure if that's the right date, but I know that
It's okay. You don't have to die on that hill, because it's just kind of going to be open. There's a little bit of a backstory to that. Don't worry. It's okay.
So yes, postcard mailings, community survey, and then a description of any other outreach that the town has been doing, like your social media postings or flyers. Then in the presentation, what we were thinking of doing is dedicating 4 slides or so with some of the feedback that we received for each of the 4 topics here. So there were specific questions for housing, obviously, land use. We have this listed as environmental resources and open space. So that kind of is grouped together. And then the community services or community facilities and infrastructure. And Erica was able to pull some of the draft survey results, but those were pulled on February 21st, I think, so they're not current. But the SurveyMonkey tool has some great bar graphs that you can insert and different graphics to show people what types of feedback were received there. So what else do we have? So a brief overview of survey results, demographics, then get into a summary of the themes that go along with each of those categories, things that came up the most, common phrases or descriptions, that type of thing. And then a discussion of the LCP status and next steps. So what comes after this workshop. So that would be it for this 20-minute introduction. It could definitely run way longer, but I think we were thinking that 20 minutes might be good, just so that people have time to really get into the interactive mapping activities that we have. Following that presentation, a few minutes just to talk to people in the room and just let them know how the flow is going to work. So I think I'm going to try to share this mock-up of a layout that we prepared. Can everyone see this visual here?
Yep.
Hopefully. Okay. So I think this is to scale. I'm not sure. The table sizes don't matter. But what we've prepared so far is a series of four boards. So for each of the categories that I mentioned, and each, I have actual zoomed in a PDF of what these will look like. But each table would have a map with identifying features, each of the 7 village locations. And you can't see it here, but there are some labels for landmarks and major roads so people can orient themselves where they are. And then some representative photos of each of the villages. And then below, I'll zoom in closer and we can really dive into this, but So this is the housing map, and then below is a board that has various dot exercises where people can put a response on which housing type and form that they like. And we have some questions where people can write on sticky notes and do a sticky note response exercise. And stop me if there's any questions so far.
Yeah, could we pause there for just a sec? A quick point of feedback.
Yeah,
Just knowing, at least for our first, this is a very small thing, but knowing the sort of geography of the first session in the cultural center, or the
204?
The 204, there you go. I was going to call it the 240 here at the end of the day, but the 204 it's a big square room with a lot of windows, or rectangular room. You're probably, this is a small thing, but you're going to probably put the 4 stations in 4 corners, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'd probably have people work around the periphery. Bernadette, who's also very spatially oriented.
No, I'm actually terribly spaced.
No, but
I
she's
know
the,
that.
she's the artist in the group,
I know
so
that.
you're not gonna have them against one wall. Like, people come in on the short end of the rectangle. You're probably gonna have your chairs or your tables where will probably be in the center. And then you're gonna probably have your 4 stations for the breakout groups in the 4 corners of the rectangle. Something like that. Would this
That makes
be
sense.
an appropriate spot to, because before we delve into the specifics of it, I specifically, Margot, I think is really, your brain works really well on this, but I want to open up to the committee. Do those 4 are you happy with those 4 categories, or do you want them as 3 in terms of, I wanted to pause there a little bit for the discussion.
I think the 4 categories make sense. I think you're likely to get more interest in some than others. But is the idea that, the way you've laid it out on the agenda is that there are 15-minute sessions on each topic, and that people go to more than one?
Yeah, so I have the privilege of Christine and Sharon and I had spoken a little bit about this. So when they come into the door, we're going to minimize choice. I mean, people always get to choose, but like, we don't want to have 100 people in one session, one area. So they're going to get a color. They're going to be randomized to and so everyone has to. I'm joking. Participate in all 4 of them. The other kind of why, just as we're plowing through the proposed agenda, could you put up the time breakdowns a little bit? We really, really appreciate the professionalism and the professional experience you're bringing to this, but we also want it to be sort of warm. So, I think the welcome and introduction, 5 minutes is great. Is 15 minutes enough at each of these stations? Does the 20-minute... I wonder if the 20-minute overview is a little long.
I give it 10.
Okay, so that's the instinct to that too? Yeah. Could we bring that down to 15 for the LPC overview and presentation, 15 minutes? The other thing I'm willing to die on this sword, at least for the first one, is you guys are amazing. Like, again, so grateful for your expertise. I think if one of us is a 4 or 5 minute part of that presentation, I think would be good to put a community member at the front there, just somebody in the community.
Skin in the game.
Yeah. I will volunteer to do it. If you make the slides,
we can talk about
do whatever you want. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
We can talk logistics later too, and I don't know the setup of that room.
Yeah.
And I'm curious in my mind about, is there a screen where we could show this, and just thinking about how to orient the chairs in that room?
Yes.
I'm sure you guys know better than me, but
Yes,
thinking
there's
about
a
that
sound
too.
system and screen, Bernadette is saying. Yeah.
Okay.
It can accommodate up to
Yep,
about
yep, we can
200
definitely.
people, depending on how you're setting it up. But for this with stations, especially if you have 4 stations going at once, Probably gonna hope you don't have 200 people there.
Yeah, we're gonna get who we get. Yeah.
We can always make duplicates and
Yeah. I mean, we could. Well, we have to like bring our, our extemporaneous game that day too, just depending on what happens. So, I want to give like Brian and Jim an opportunity to. Anybody else weighing in about those categories?
They seem fine.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess if we shorten the 20-minute intro, just then and I would actually say it's nice to make this a little bit. You can still have the 4 stations 15 minutes each. No one is ever going to be sad if we finish a little early, but just a little built-in moving around time. So yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, quick question. On the intro, is the intention to show some of the results of the survey? Because if that's
correct.
the case,
Correct.
that's a good use of 15 minutes. Yeah.
Correct. That's and that's what Erica is working on, and I will. This is the general kind of review of this. I mean, I will with Christine and Sharon. We'll dig in deep before then and make sure the slides look good. But exactly, like some of the trend data and talking about what we've done so far and what we've learned so far.
Yep.
Yeah,
And just
I
to
wouldn't necessarily cut that too short. I mean, it's important to set the context.
Yeah. It's just I don't want to like belabor the point. I guess it's just I think we can. Really, the point of folks coming is for us to hear from them. So yeah.
Right. But you're gonna in that session, you're gonna in the 15 minutes, you're gonna tee up all 4 of these areas. Right. So you're gonna give a little insight.
yeah, that's our idea at least. I mean, we can incorporate as much or as little as you'd like.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's important. I didn't want to say let's be careful.
Yes.
not to
No,
cut
I
it too
agree.
short because
I agree.
you're going-
Christine.
Yeah.
Christine's saying something too. Can I?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, as Allison indicated, we will do a brief summary of the
Yeah.
survey. And
Yeah.
we'll definitely tee up the topics as well, just to provide some highlights relative to the day's sessions.
And as many committee members who can be there, you're going to be really humanizing. We learn a lot. I think we'll just kind of, we may jump into it, but we're also going to be encouraging. Allison, you want to keep going
Right.
and show us more?
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly to address someone had a question earlier about if it will feel too harsh for these times. But in the past, when we've done it, people really just flow in between and there's lots of side conversations happening. So I don't anticipate that people will feel, we're not going to kick people out. So the goal is to get as much feedback as possible.
Is there, if I'm envisioning it right, is there like a little like gentle chime or something like, ooh, 15 minutes is up, move to the next group, and then the little cohorts move around the station? Is that how it works?
Yeah, in the
Got it.
past, we've had some rooms that have a microphone or
Yeah.
we can make an announcement for people, whatever works best, but some
Okay.
type of alert. So, okay, let me move on to the meat of everything. The boards. So, these are the boards up close, and let me see if I can split my screen. Maybe I'll go one by one for now. Oh, gosh. Okay. So we can start it doesn't matter what order. So here is the housing map. Theoretically, this could be placed on the wall with the dot and sticky exercise to the side or to the below. But on the map itself, we've identified each of the villages in town. Again, these are draft boards, so the images here can easily be replaced. I think we want to make sure that we're representing each village as accurately as possible. It's very small and might be difficult to see, but we have some landmarks highlighted, so the Harwich fire stations, schools and libraries are highlighted, each of the neighborhoods. Let me zoom in a little bit. And we have some of the road names so that people can orient themselves around the map.
Could you go over to the pictures too a little bit? This is this is like small stuff that's just like local cred. I don't feel if you zoom in on the pictures, just make sure everyone
These ones
likes
here,
those
to
pictures.
the right?
Okay, so Harwich Center, that's why I wanted to look at that. That is not Harwich Center. That is Harwich Port. That will scream to anybody. That's why these pictures are important. That is Harwich Port.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
East Harwich, what is that?
Looks like
That's
either
Wauquasit.
No, and we
Wauquasit.
do not want to lead with, no, we cannot have Wauquasit as
Right.
East Harwich. Yes.
Harwich. I'm really glad they finally owned up to that.
I mean, no, but we do not want Wauquasit. That's not that's a lightning issue. So no to those both of those pictures need to be changed. I mean, Allen Harbor, Harwich Port. It's not Allen Harbor actually. That's Saquatucket. Yeah,
Saquatucket, yeah.
But that's hard.
that's fine.
Still counts.
That's okay.
That's fine.
But when you think of Harwich Port as a village, you're thinking of
So yeah, you could actually move the Harwich Center picture to Harwich Port if you wanted. Doesn't, but because that's in Harwich Port, the Dr. Gravity site.
Okay.
North Harwich.
North Harwich.
Yeah, it works. I mean, I think we still think of it as the most rural
Yeah,
village.
it's fine. What is it? I don't
Cape
recognize
The
it.
house on
Classic
it.
Cape
Okay,
House.
classic Cape House. Okay, sure. Keep going down.
Meeting house.
Oh, there's
Meeting
actually,
House is South Harwich, West Harwich. Yeah, sure. And Pleasant Lake. Sure.
Of course,
Yeah. Okay.
Pizza there tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just need
Okay.
Harwich Center.
Yeah, you gotta come up with something
all
different
those
for
are
Harwich
one
Center. You could put the town hall. You could put the library. You could, yeah.
Brooks Academy.
Okay.
Brooks Academy. Yeah, anything like that.
Okay. Any comments
And
on
East
general-
East Harwich, you gotta do something besides Wauquasit.
The Four Corners.
What about the new firehouse? That's fine.
Yeah, the new firehouse. Sure.
Post,
Sure.
Station 2 would be.
yeah.
Sure.
Firehouse, post office combination, yeah.
Yep. In East Harwich.
Or,
Yep.
yeah, firehouse.
And I'll go through these with Sharon and Christine before.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, all good.
All right, any comments on the map itself? I know it is a little small. Let me zoom in.
No, that's
Generally,
probably-
anything that stands out, or do you think this is enough for people to get oriented?
It's a
And we
little
have
hard
a map.
because you don't have the, you know, the rest of the things on the right side. It just ends. Are those the borders of Harwich?
The villages, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but.
Yep,
but
so we're
Harwich
showing
is
the-
on some of Pleasant Bay, so it should be something in there. I guess, oh, maybe that's it.
Yeah, I see Pleasant Bay.
Yeah.
What does he say?
Okay.
Yeah, that's it, Jim. Yeah, I think this looks good.
Yeah, and I think
Okay.
with the pictures, it creates it creates the imagery in somebody's mind.
Definitely.
And to preface, each of the maps have this town boundary on it, so for the other three, it will look similar. Okay, so let me move on
Doing great.
to the board. Good. Hopefully, tell me if I need to move fast or slow or whatever for timing. But so this is the interactive exercise that will go along with the housing topic. And I'm realizing that maybe this, I'm not sure if this is the most recent version. But what we've done here is provide various exercises. So I'll start with the first. The first task here for people is to review each of these housing types and styles. They're all local to the Cape. Some of these came from the town. I know Karen sent me a few. I'm not sure if our team has updated those yet, but they should be representative of the general style. And we have a description of the actual housing type. So we have duplex, cottage style, townhouses, mixed use facilities, decked flats, multiplexes, and we have some examples of historic conversion locations and the prompting question. So if we're thinking that there would be a facilitator at each of these tables, the facilitator could ask, place a dot on your top 3 styles or forms that you'd like to see in Harwich. And Karen and I and Christine had talked about removing this limit of only choosing 3 because we don't want it to be exclusive. We want this to be an inclusive activity for folks to choose what types of housing that they would like. So I'll stop there for now. And then we have some other exercises on the bottom, which are sticky note feedback exercises.
Do you want to, just the way we were seeing it, do you want to read us the questions at the bottom?
Sure. Yep. So the question at the bottom, let me zoom in, is a box for open-ended comments or questions. It says general comments / feedback, what I like, what I don't like. And then this second box says the ideal housing density in Harwich is ... And that would be open-ended for.
And then you have the villages. Okay, got it. And then
Yep.
so there's a
Yeah.
couple questions like what is the housing style? Where would you put it? What do you not like and what do you like? Okay, we should pause here for feedback about this. Mine comes up for me is someone would say, I'm just thinking of our varied citizens are going to ask, who's building this housing? What kind of housing? Like and I'm good with however the exercise goes, but I can see somebody asking that, like, well, is the town building that? What do you mean? And is there a slick answer to that, or how do you facilitate that?
That's a great question. Karen, do you have any immediate feedback on that? I think,
hopefully, we'll have those sticky the Post-its where they can, ask questions. I'll be stationed at the housing site, so I'm happy to address that.
Yes.
My sense is you don't just restrict it to nonprofit developers, because there are a lot of for-profit developers who really.
Yeah. I was just, however you want to say it. I just know, I can tell you like the top 4 people who are going to ask this. Yes. Yeah.
It'll probably be a mix.
Sure.
Yeah.
Margot.
But the other thing on the ideal, I think we should set the ideal locations for new housing would be.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the issue on density. People have a hard time, visioning or understanding density, much less being able to articulate density.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering about that.
That was my
But
question.
there are a couple of
How do you
examples
define
of density in our town.
So-
and you could show those as do you find this horrible? Do you find this acceptable?
Maybe that's a way to get back to the drawing board about how do you, in a more sophisticated way, ask about density. Because also the top, I can see people say, I hate density, or no density at all. Or it's like, and then it's not, it's kind of a dead end question for you.
Well, this-
Margot, yeah.
It's like I hate density, but I also want open space.
And we also address
That's
housing
right.
issues, but yeah.
That's right. And there's no substitute for good design. That's.
It's interesting though, because how much, like, if you show these pictures of the houses, are people going to think they can vote and that's the type of house that's going to be built? Because the town doesn't really control all that architecture.
I think it's getting a sense for, this is the planning question, right? I think this is the community engagement. I can see people getting into this, but yeah.
I think it's going to be important in the overview, either, at the beginning of the session or at the, of the bigger session, or at least at the beginning of the housing workshop, to grapple with the question that David has raised, which is that, people have an idea of what they think they want the housing to be in town, and it's basically single-family homes on, 1-acre lots. And trying.
affordable
Yeah,
housing.
well, exactly, exactly. And that's,
Not $2 million house.
we really are talking about affordable housing here, you know.
Or attainable, however you want it. Yeah,
In the plan, we're trying to add housing that will meet a need that, rather than building more, you know, homes for rich people, they can build their own homes. So I think that people need to understand that you can get a lot more bang for your buck if you're building more compact housing, rental housing, so the sort of financing of this is an important component. I think it would be crazy if we just got a bunch of feedback that people said, oh, I like this pretty picture, let's do that.
Yeah.
You know, and
Right.
And Karen, I think we're going to defer to you. It's wonderful that you'll be at that station as like such an expert of like helping the folks sort of understand to like kind of, I don't want to say hold it lightly because it's important feedback, but that it, just as Jim's point, it's not binding. Like we're trying to get input on what is a known problem. So if we're moving the needle on the known problem, what is a sense of there is community support for, because then that, you know, furthers the plan, so to speak. I would defer on your expertise about how you convey that in that setting.
Yeah, you know, maybe as part of the introductory remarks, if there can be some kind of pragmatic kind of orientation on housing, that might be helpful. I think that's, you know, that was an issue too with the survey. I mean, and if with, you know, pretty pictures or whatever, if there's not kind of a real pragmatic understanding of the logistics of developing attainable, affordable housing, it's, you know, people are going to gravitate towards the lower density single family homes, except for, you know, their usual suspects of supporters and advocates for affordable housing, you know, will be there too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think there. I bet you another thing that would be, again, but it's also, I recognize what you're saying. It's not necessarily the financially easiest. There's going to be a support for like the historical conversions, because, you know, like driving around Harwich, we are not in lacking of buildings. It's like, or, you know, bedrooms or bathrooms. It's putting the people that need them, you know, that would benefit from them, that we need as a community in them. So I think that's a nod to, you know, if we were to anticipate our criticism going forward to is like the very reductive, like, well, how do you pay for it? And so that's where we were trying to make sure we're anticipating that to you put it so well, Karen, the pragmatism of this. And I think that will help address some potential critics as well.
Yeah, and besides economies of scale, also at this point, basically all state subsidies are for rentals. And so you've got that piece too. There are numbers of considerations that we listed in the housing needs assessment that are helpful for better understanding this issue.
Yeah. I guess, you know, this is going to be 15 minutes with the public. Like, we're not going to solve housing in Harwich here, but like,
question I had.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I can do it when people,
right.
People go to the various boards. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I have a suggestion and then a question. But the suggestion is that this label be affordable housing, because I think people are going to come into this with a couple of different viewpoints. Are we talking about the $2.5 million, you know, homes, or are we talking, you know, what are we talking about? So qualifying it to affordable housing.
Could you say attainable? Would attainable maybe be a little more inclusive given what's going on with Ed? Maybe affordable / attainable housing? Why don't you do that? Affordable / attainable, so that we're inclusive of the 80 to 200, since that's what we're talking about. Yeah, affordable / attainable.
In this upper right section?
Yeah,
or?
on how, just the big label there, housing, just put affordable / attainable housing.
Oh, okay.
And on the chart that you introduced, what the 4 categories are. It's got to be in both places.
Yeah, yeah, affordable/attainable housing. Like it, love it.
Attainable, right. Right. Okay, now the other question I have is on the right-hand side of this chart, the ideal location for the new housing would be, I'm a little concerned that people might look at that as not in my backyard.
Yeah.
So how do we want to really use that? Are you looking for different style houses in each of those?
Christine, what do you think?
7
I mean,
villages?
is that needed? What do you think, Christine?
I think for itemizing it by village can also help in terms of location, whether you're close to transportation, businesses, in areas where development is appropriate, and increased density or rental apartments or other different housing types as well as mixed use is appropriate. And so I do think it is helpful to at least identify some of the villages. That would be helpful.
Oh, thank you so much. Could we put it as when you actually bang out that session, instead of it just being a vote for, put it as far away from me as possible. I'm that's the lowest common denominator. Could you have the stickies be like a specific recommendation? So like, I'm going to just say, I live in West Harwich, right? This is the cat's out of the bag. This is a good thing, right? Like, the Baptist church, boom. Like, so could you not only have like, could you have specific recommendations that might address some of the issue of, not in my backyard or something? With that?
I think there might be an option to color code it so that people can be a little bit more specific, whether it's, 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartments versus, a single-family home ownership opportunity or a townhouse opportunity.
Okay.
So I do think there might be some options.
Or
Allison, Ally,
another thought would be, go ahead.
Oh, sorry,
Ally.
Brian.
I was just going to comment that we have done that before where we do color code the actual stickies, so we could add some type of legend or key to say.
Yeah, that might be nicer. And I bet you
for people.
give the opportunity for someone to be specific, like, why are you laughing at?
I was going to suggest that the top 3 in each of those, or the top 1 or 2 in each of those villages, get people to force some thought in each village.
Ed has a snarky laugh. Go ahead.
Yeah, in my mind, the thing that comes up, where do we locate the most affordable home ownership style of housing that has reasonable density, i.e. manufactured or mobile homes? Because there are none in Harwich. You go to all our neighboring towns and you look at them, they have, Dennis has several, Yarmouth has several, Orleans has some, Eastham has some, but that, for
Very little.
affordable ownership
Diminishing,
housing
too.
units, that's probably the most affordable.
We're not there yet, Ed. We're working on it. We're late. I get you, and I respect that intellectually, but this is like it'd be interesting to see what the response to this is.
I can't really see the pictures, but I think if it would be important to include something that's mixed use, like
These are Cape examples.
is,
When
yes.
when we had gone through these,
Yeah.
they are. So they're not crazy,
Yeah, we have a lot of building stock on the Cape that's underutilized.
Right.
So a
Right.
successful, commercial down, residential up would be, something I think it's to prompt people's thinking.
Harwich Center,
Yeah.
the market, the liquor store,
Mm-hmm.
the smoke shop has units behind it.
Yeah, and there's some in Harwich Port too. Yeah.
Go ahead, Christine.
In the town zoning, it's been really impressive to get a little bit more familiar with all of the zoning regulations, but Harwich is one of the few communities that has multifamily zoning options as well as mixed-use development. And so I think the town should be given a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, and I actually, an interesting way of gauging specificity, however you set it up, or gauging appetite. I think if you whoever attends, my sense is if you give them the opportunity to be specific, I think that might be interesting. Exactly to your point that someone may, that we may, wow, there is common recognition that, hey, and I'm just, in West Harwich or in North Harwich River, this is a place that, maybe could be some units. That's awfully nice opportunity to engage with the community, right? Like to get that.
And I think it's an important point because it gets people to thinking about reusing the building stock that we have rather than thinking of all housing has to be new construction. It can be remodeling something underutilized, so.
All right, just being cognizant of the time, and we have 3 more categories, and any other big feedbacks about that?
You're going to be
Yeah,
checking.
yes,
Yeah.
I'll put my Harwich eyes on it.
It's important just to make sure we
Yeah.
don't have any bloopers.
Yeah. I'm sure there will be a blooper, but we'll do everything we can to minimize the blooper. Yeah. From the left side of the
Okay.
table here, any?
No, I like Brian's idea. Just if we can force the hand to kind of give an idea on locations and maybe even identify where those folks are
Yeah,
from.
and I mean, let's see how it shakes out, Karen. But one of us is whoever's feeling up to the task that day will help you too in terms of making sure we're keeping it on the rails there. Like I would,
Would it also help to visualize locational options on what Christine was talking about, where we do have flexibility in building density and using multifamily? Like instead of, because if you look at the town and it's like, hey, there's a lot of room here. It's like, well, that's zoned as low density. Are we rezoning that, or are we
yeah.
planning on?
Oh, that's cool.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just, it's like in a perfect world, this is the path of least resistance, and here are the mechanisms you already have at your disposal. If you could do it, would you do it here?
Ooh,
I don't
interesting
know.
question. How hard? I mean, I appreciate what you're saying that while we do have some innovative, potentially good zoning issues, is that easily represented visually?
I think so. I can work with Ally and Sharon on that.
That'd be awesome.
Now, even if you had a large board of the zoning
Yeah.
in the town, the overlay, like color map that we've got on the GIS database, I mean, people could at least look at that and,
If we had that up in the room somewhere where you could say, hey, if you look at these highlighted areas, here are the ones where we can really maximize a lot of this usage. Just because I think it'll quickly get them up to speed as to be like, okay, I'm connecting it.
If that's doable, I mean, that's super cool. And I would say that's even more, I mean, I like your little housing options, but that's probably even moving the needle even more if you talk about, hey, the zoning exists for this right now. That would be well worth sacrificing some of your architectural options
Yeah.
for. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've done that in the past, and we can make a large zoning map just to post next to this. So yeah,
Cool.
that's definitely
That'd be
doable.
great.
I think that's a great idea.
I do think that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Margot.
I just wanted to ask a procedural question. So there's going to be somebody from Ty and Bond manning each one of these tables, is that right?
Yep, some of our staff will be there.
Karen's gonna be at
and
housing.
also you members of the committee too.
Right.
Whoever's
I'm
planning
just,
to go.
I mean, we can spread ourselves out, at various different tables, but it seems like we need somebody to facilitate at each table, and we need somebody to record. So do we want to assign committee members to record?
I just kind of assumed Ty and Bond, I'm sure you know what you're doing, right? You must have a way of capturing this, right? And they're on it.
Yep. So I can speak to that briefly. So I did send out, we have an internal run of show document that breaks out the day in certain time slots. So that's something that we could share with all of the committee members just to see when the setup starts and the time blocks for each thing. Typically Sharon from our office will be the one with a microphone or whatever facilitating the flow throughout the room. In terms of actual like capturing the data on the boards. We photograph everything, and we have someone in our group who will manually transcribe all of the sticky notes, which is a long task.
Yeah.
But we do get it all down and we tabulate it. So that's typically how we track it. But it is always helpful to have some people around who are taking notes on the side of those side
We'll get the
conversations that
sentiment of
happen
it, the
and-
feel, the vibe.
Yeah,
Like.
yeah.
All right,
So,
last question on this.
Sorry, yeah.
Go ahead, Barbara.
I do think it's important to keep the housing styles
Sure.
up there.
Sure.
I mean, I think with the zoning map can be on a separate easel in that area or something, but I do think that's important because I think that's a very definitive
Yeah. Yeah.
item that people here.
Yeah.
They
Feel
don't
strongly
wanna
about.
look like Hyannis. I mean, things like that. So I think it's important for them.
Never
to
mind Brockton.
have their
Yes.
say
No,
on
I know. Yeah. I hear you.
Allie, make sure you show a house that has no trees around it and flat land. That would be great.
No.
Very flat.
That's sarcasm, Ellie. Don't
just
listen.
kidding.
Don't
I
listen. All right. Trucking,
We'll not do that.
trucking along. Let's go to the other ones.
Okay, shall we move on to land use and growth? Okay, so to preface again, obviously there's some overlap with these images. We have, I'm forgetting.
Can we look at the pictures? That's like an easy check. Yeah.
Yep. And these are ones that I pulled, well, I pulled some of them, not others. Like this one has a little Google thing in there, so we'll have to remove that.
Harwichport is Witchmere,
No,
sure.
we can't do
No,
Witchmere
no,
for
no, 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 no,
Harrisburg.
no.
Yeah, I would take Witchmere out of Harwichport.
No.
I mean, it's a moneymaker for us from a
this-
taxes perspective. but-
It's fine. It's just, it's not, it's a kind of a not a town thing. I mean,
No,
It's an
private,
important
no.
business in town, but it's not a
Yeah.
kind of community for all.
Okay,
kind of thing.
I don't know. I did not pull this photo here. of
It's
North
fine.
Harwich.
I'll go through them at the end and
Yeah, we'll
veto
go
what
through it.
needs to be. But yeah, North Harwich, and then scroll up. What's up?
Oh, that's
East
Stonewood,
Harwich
right?
and Harwich Center.
Yeah, Harwich Center, East Harwich.
I like that business.
Sure.
What is that a picture of in East Harwich? Is that the
Methodist.
Lutheran
Methodist
church?
church,
I
isn't it?
can't.
That's
I think it's
I
the
don't know name of
Methodist
but
church.
there's a thrift shop behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Methodist.
I don't know.
church. Yep.
It's south of the Four Corners.
I know that might even be south. Anyway, okay, keep going up.
No, it's
Yeah,
It's East
yeah,
Harwich.
I don't think that's east.
below Stop and Shop and all that.
This is a duplicate here for South Harwich. We can change that.
West Harwich, that's good. South Harwich, sure.
Meeting house again.
I just pulled the school. For this one, I don't know if
Pleasant Lake. Ooh,
It's the new
not
college
necessarily
school.
representative, but
that's
we
the
can.
tech.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I wouldn't recognize it. I've
Pretty
never
nice.
seen it.
Wow.
it's very nice.
That's really nice.
It's really nice.
I would show,
Tech.
Oh, yeah.
it is. I would show the lake.
It looks,
Yeah, that's what I was figuring.
It doesn't look that industrial in person.
I know it.
Are those,
Good.
All
Then
right, so
for the rest,
what are we'll sort out the pictures the week before, or 2 weeks before. You know, we're approaching 2 weeks, but I'll die in that. But what's the thematic question here?
so this is sticky notes only here. We don't have any dot exercises, although we could incorporate that onto the map above if we wanted to. These are 4 of the questions that we brainstormed together. I can read them in case anyone has trouble viewing it. So the first is, what is your favorite place in town? What businesses or services would you like to see? What areas should be prioritized for improvement and or restoration? And are there areas in town where no development should occur / land should be protected? So,
What was the second question?
discussion.
What business or services would you like to see?
Here. Okay.
thoughts on that?
Joyce, I'm laughing because I'm thinking, this woman has operated on me twice and she can't see that and read it. Close, right?
Well, I'm 44 now, Bernard. The eyes are like changing every day. My lens.
Is that better?
I see well professionally, but yes. What is your? I'm good with that. I mean, it's talk about open ended. It's cool. I mean, does anyone have?
This kind of thing works well.
Yeah.
Speaking as a teacher,
Yeah.
the less they have to write,
these are
the less
good.
they have to do. This kind of thing works really well.
Brian, what'd you say? This is good? You liked it?
I like it. I like these are nice provocative questions.
Yeah, but not
And
too
these are the-
provocative. Just right. Just
Right,
right.
that's right.
Provocative.
They're thought generating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought generating.
I'm good with that.
Okay. We don't need to belabor the point. Moving right along.
Yeah. We don't do anything about the villages with that slide. It's just general town.
Yeah.
Is there?
That's
Yeah,
okay.
that's correct.
Yeah.
If you want to incorporate, we can.
No.
Are those pictures connected to those
Sometimes.
4 questions?
Ed is asking, are those pictures that connected to those 4 questions?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's window dressing.
I mean, I
One
think,
comment, in other workshops, sometimes people will put sticky notes directly on the map. So
Sure.
Some people may end up doing that, which is good, so that you can see what location you would like
sure.
to see as the new service or business or whatever. Some people like to interact with that, but otherwise, yeah.
Hey, could you go to the map for a second? Maybe this is just me, but is East Harwich, is your little marker there in the right place? Should East Harwich be the intersection of 39 and 137?
That looks like that's.
Like where your fire department
Oh, here.
symbol is? Yeah, I mean, that's where I tend to think of the
That's-
epicenter of
That's
East
the
Harwich.
roundabout.
That's the rotary.
That's the roundabout.
Yeah.
It needs to be moved up to the
well-
next
Yeah, it needs to be
intersection.
down
There you go.
here.
If you move it to the fire
Fire
station.
rescue.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the one.
It's on fire. Put East Harwich on fire.
We could put it at your front door, Brian.
Deep
I'll take
Harwich
that.
nerdiness here. Like, deep Harwich
How dare you
nerdiness.
put it at half.
The roundabout, I was going to say, is half a mile from our East Harwich, but some
was
street
bothering.
cred.
It is a bit confusing.
I actually,
I'll adjust.
if we're talking about land use, shouldn't we have a land use map that shows the different existing uses and in town? I mean, rather than just this
That's
sort
just
of
people don't have any
generalized.
idea what's empty. I'm always amazed.
Yeah, because when I'm looking at this, I don't know exactly what we're using the land for. I just see the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking, based on your discussion with the housing board, is I think it's a great idea to add a zoning map there, and we can do the same thing and make an additional map here, which is land use cover using GIS data, and just post that to the side so people could see.
I
Yeah,
think it's
what the
important,
land
it's
use cover
important
is,
for,
if that would
I
be
mean,
helpful.
we look at, or at least I do, look at maps all the time. And, but I think it's important for people who don't look at maps all the time to be able to get a bigger picture view of the town and where the intensity of the use is. And, yeah, you won't get that from a zoning map.
No,
Of whatever.
Not zoned.
but that should be in the GIS
Okay.
database also, the land use.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if
Yeah, there are
Harvard
specific
Conservation
layers.
has a nice picture of it all.
Need to have it on a board on it.
What was that?
I said, I wonder if Harvard Conservation has a map that really lays it out.
I know that Dave Callahan could help us with this if there isn't a good, up-to-date map, but I can't believe there isn't.
Okay.
I mean, the Cape Cod Commission would have one if,
Exactly.
you know.
I
So,
would think so.
yeah.
This is GIS
Okay.
database.
Okay.
Are we ready to move on?
Sure.
I have to run, folks. See you next month, if not at one of these meetings.
Thank you, Jim, for being here.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Right now, sorry I have to leave. Yep.
Keep trucking, Al.
Alrighty.
You're doing great.
Yep. So all of these maps have the same labels, so we'll move the East Harwich
Yeah.
to that intersection. So here we have the Environmental Resources and Open Space Board. This is a prompting question for a sticky note activity where we do provide some examples. So the question we've prompted here is, can you identify any underutilized areas that could be repurposed to enhance environmental conservation and or observation? And the examples are areas for boat access, kayaking, swimming lessons, a cranberry bog lookout, scenic ocean lookout. Those are more rec-based, not necessarily conservation-based. But the idea is to have people respond in an open-ended way to that question.
Could you scroll down to so can you identify any underutilized areas and then about that could be repurposed to enhance environmental climate and or observation? Okay. Can you go down and then you're asking about, could you scroll down about like the specifics? What was about swimming lessons and stuff? Okay.
Yep. So just a little idea about
I don't know if this is Harwich relevant as much. How could we tweak this a little bit? For example, we're going to get to the whole issue in rec. We're not, swimming lessons. We know where those are offered. They're offered on Long Pond or Sand Pond. So I don't think we necessarily have to ask that per se. I'm going to defer to some of the folks on the committee with more experience around this about what we might accomplish with this question.
I think, okay, I would say the same thing that I said about the map, which is that we ought to have a map that shows the environmental resources. So this shows some of them. It shows some of the green areas in town, but there's some great maps that show where the wetlands are and where the ponds are and where wildlife habitat is, and all of those things that we should have a base map that shows that. And then I think we ought to ask, what environmental concerns do people have in?
That's a better way of putting it. That's a better way of putting it.
Okay. Do you want me to continue down? Because we do have some more questions, which maybe could help if we read through these. That might be able to help revise that first question. So this is also another sticky note activity board.
Ooh, my favorite outdoor recreational activity in Harwich is, what part of the natural environment, see Bernadette, I can read, which part of the natural environment needs immediate attention or repair? That's a good question. I am most concerned about X in Harwich. What does it say? I can't read below that. What does it say below that, Ellie?
Water quality, shoreline stability, climate change, sea level rise, impacts of increased seasonal traffic.
Okay. These are great questions. I wouldn't be distracted by that little bubble of like kayaking, swimming lessons. I think that might be like, people might be like, what does that have to do with anything? These are really good questions. Yeah, and maybe use that space for the map that Margot is saying about like, what's the existing,
Okay.
Can they,
so next, maybe next.
Enlarge them? Because I can't read any of the questions.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
No, it's okay. What existing?
Allie, it's not your fault. We're literally like 80 feet away from you.
You guys,
It's not.
I can't see anybody's face.
The
So,
lights are on.
so these are the first three, and then there's two more.
These are great questions.
Most concerned about blank in Harwich.
I love your examples of water quality and stuff like that.
Shoreline stability, climate change. Cool. Sea level rise. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And
What's on the right?
Yeah, what's the fourth one?
Oh, sorry. This is actually split into.
What's existing recreation, oops.
Okay, would you like to see improved? What potential recreation assets or facilities would you like to see in Harwich? That's where Ed's gonna cram the vote for a pool. I'm teasing you. Okay, that's cool. I mean, yeah. I would kill that header above about the swimming and stuff like that, because that's a loaded issue that we're gonna get to in rec.
Yeah, what's the question up on that first page? Because that can you identify underutilized?
I don't know. Is that, I don't think that's great.
I have a real problem with observation. I think the average person
Yeah.
walking in is not, The thing
Yeah.
below it makes a lot more
Yeah, yeah,
sense.
those
Makes it
questions are
clear.
great, but
Yeah.
kill that top question.
You know,
Yeah.
I agree.
conservation and/or passive recreation or something, but observation, or just leave it.
Kill the question and focus on what's on the bottom, because that's much more useful for this process.
It's too much of a heavy lift for
Okay.
people
Yeah.
to skip it. They just,
Okay.
I wouldn't even interpret it.
The issue, I guess, about the pool is.
I'm teasing you, Ed,
No,
but
but I mean, there are groups that
I know.
apparently are.
There's a whole, who knows what's going to happen with that, but that's an aside to the public or anybody who's listening. There's a whole fairly sophisticated effort of in between towns of trying to get a pool somewhere.
And
But
it's interesting,
yeah.
all of them have basically decided, whether they're in Yarmouth or Chatham
Mm-hmm.
or Orleans, that the place to locate it is in Harwich.
well, we may be, it's a,
That's part of our mission.
no,
so
it
we
isn't.
can
But
move on.
but just as an aside, there is like a very sophisticated marking effort that is penetrating the socials. So more to come on that. Anyway, irrelevant to this, but interesting to be aware of.
Community facilities and infrastructure.
Yeah. so the big let's look what you got. But I bet you maybe the map isn't as applicable here. The big, depending on who comes, the big thing is going to be
Sewer.
Sewer, water, probably.
Services,
but
Sewer, definitely.
it's gonna be a mixed bag.
so where is going to be the disgruntled parent about that there's no swimming lessons in Harwich right now? I don't mind what category that is, but what
It's open space and recreation,
Okay.
I think.
So
I
could you
think you could see it here too.
could you go up and make sure we get that in Ally and that about what potential recreation assets? So could you put we probably need a question in there. What existing recreational assets or facilities would you like to see improved? So maybe existing recreational opportunities, and you could maybe say like, I don't know, including classes and programs or something.
I think given the current temperature of things, that's all you need. You don't have to put examples.
Okay,
I'm sure
okay.
you will get a
Okay.
lot of.
Just for the facilitator, then that's where that is going to be, because that I mean,
asked.
yes, depending on how much we're trying to penetrate that demographic in Harwich, but it's a big deal. Cool. All right, clear to me. Sorry.
Didn't we? But didn't we just change this community facilities and infrastructure? I thought was going to be community services, which has got a different connotation.
Well, then maybe that's what we're clarifying here is like, because like sewer and swimming classes are kind of two different things.
Right.
Just add the word services, community services, facilities,
Infrastructure.
and infrastructure. Because
Oh.
facilities to me feels like it's going to be interpreted as
Structure.
buildings.
Yeah.
Infrastructure is
The plumbing,
sewer, plumbing,
electrical.
transportation, lack thereof, and services would be the third prong of that.
Do we get it in two categories? Which I think it's a big enough deal. It's fine. I just want to make sure we understand.
I don't think we do get it in two.
It seems like
I
it
don't think you get it.
it
in two with
fits here.
Facilities and infrastructure.
Yeah, I agree.
And
It
I
doesn't
see
happen
that-
in open space.
The other three questions
Sorry.
are very specific, and this one's gonna be the umbrella one that everything else comes under, and there's a lot more, forgive me, than just open space and growth and planning and.
Yeah, absolutely.
housing, Although we know those are the big driving issues,
But this has a big
This-
driving issue under it plus others.
lots of
Yeah.
them.
And-
Lots of
and
them
ag-
that don't fit elsewhere.
And
that
again,
people haven't
I
heard
would
about.
say that we ought to have a map that illustrates community facilities, like where.
Where
you
are
know,
they located?
Where are they located? We've got some sewering in East Harwich. We've got a transportation, the roads are shown on the thing, but we've got transit routes that go through town. Can we put that on a map?
Well,
You put the major, town facilities like the community center and the
Library.
library, and,
204.
yeah, I mean, so, I mean, I think it just, for people to see visually, what do we have when we're talking about any of these subjects is really important.
And the drinking water well fields.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We have a water superintendent that is exceedingly interested in making sure
Yeah.
that we preserve those.
yeah.
And those are, it's generally not considered a facility because it's sort of open land, but it is a facility. We rely
Or
on
it's part of the infrastructure.
Yeah.
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 And the harbors as well.
Yeah, harbors would be good here. Actually, just as an aside, a good picture to include in, when we were talking about pictures is probably a picture of the 204 somewhere. And we would identify that as Harwich Center.
Yeah.
Okay. I would identify that as Harwich Center.
The other, I've talked to Link Hooper about, what his concern and his concern is keeping up with the road infrastructure. And he's specifically really concerned about keeping the road infrastructure up above floodwater.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
and the two projects that they're looking at out on Pleasant Bay and
North Street.
on North Street, between the two of them, it's $8 million.
Yeah. So if I understand just the general categories, this last one, it's not really necessarily the last, but this fourth one is infrastructure, sewering, roads, water, things like that. It may end up being a catch-all for other things we have not caught. I'm just laying down the methodology here. This may be a catch-all for other things we haven't caught, but generally, reductively, the disgruntled parent about no swimming lessons is going to be directed to the third category. Just, we're understanding that methodology. I'm fine with it, just that we are relatively organized. Okay.
It might show up here too.
I think, yeah,
Sure, I'm just trying to.
it's a matter of
But I agree.
interpretation,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's how some people are gonna be coming in thinking.
Yeah.
But, by saying community facilities and infrastructure, it doesn't really say services.
Well, I think,
And I agree, I think it should.
but do we think, we're thinking services more like snow, and I maybe want to get the professional sense too from Christine, like services like snow plowing? Like how do we, what are we defining as services?
I think it's everything. I think it's having a library in town. I think it's having,
Fire, yeah.
everything that we have.
Okay.
I guess maybe, again, where I came from
Yes.
onto this committee. I thought we were talking about everything that affects the life of
Yes, okay.
people in town in the next 10 years,
So
do
this-
we want to
this-
still support our municipal library? That requires a certain amount of hours open to stay certified for the state, Do we want to still have a vibrant community center? And if it's got overflow, how are we going to staff the 204 to make sure that we're providing everything everybody is looking for? And, I don't know.
Okay.
Bless you.
And the schools,
Schools also.
School, so this,
hot button.
yeah, so community facilities and infrastructure, maybe, could we give some examples here then, like, that, so that it intentionally is a little bit of a catch-all? Are you okay with that, Christine? Yeah, so we could put everyone wants to lead with sewer, right? No, but like water, sewer, school, the S's, library. Maybe we could put some thought prompts there
Yeah.
of what we mean by this.
You guys cut out a little bit earlier. Are we asking to,
Let's
sorry,
just
can you repeat
define.
revisions to the examples?
Let's define this a little bit by what we mean, so that's intentionally a little bit of a catch-all. So water, sewering, schools, library, municipal services,
Cultural center.
cultural opportunities, like we want to get,
Harbor,
yeah,
fishing, I mean,
harbor, fishing, water access. What are our questions?
The herring run.
What existing community program facilities should be updated? Okay. What are community-wide efforts that should be implemented in the next 5 years? So those are good, broad questions. Do we need?
I don't know if
I know planning is all about locale, but since we are defining our mission somewhat broadly, do we need to talk about specific facilities in Harwich where you believe the new community facilities are because I guess that's Ed's pool question. That first question, does that get you enough?
Is this, Is this where Harwichport parking would be?
Yeah,
Probably.
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah,
Harwichport, what?
parking,
Parking.
Oh, parking.
yeah.
And I think in our setup, as we orient people to working through the stations, we should kind of identify our organization categories here. This is what we're talking about. This is where this goes.
To Ed's point, though, like, when I see these questions, I don't think of it's kind of a quiet project that needs to be addressed, right? And we're talking about resiliency for coastal flooding in our roadways, so you can get to and from places. And when I look at this, I don't think about that at all.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I mean, you're talking about an $8 million project, pretty big project for just a couple roads.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I mean, less than a quarter mile each.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a ton of.
Yeah.
So, one thought, would it be helpful if we revise this primary question here and just nix that and change it to something related to coastal flooding issues,
Or roads, do you want it to be roads?
and sewering? I don't know.
Transportation, I think of like then the
Buses.
bus, which is, important for parts of Harwich for sure, but is maybe not the most unifying. Christine, go ahead. Yeah.
You know, for public safety, I also think sidewalk improvements has been a big issue, and then, even in the business centers,
Yeah.
how we can improve some of the connections.
Bike paths.
And bike paths and trails has been another issue as well.
So is there a way to maybe more broadly define transportation, like what? Moving about? Or maybe the
To access.
maybe the facilitator says that by transportation we mean moving about the town.
Yep.
And that
Or
broadly-
could we have little icons above that question, which are car, feet? You know how you
Yeah.
can choose on Google Maps,
Yep. Bike.
whether you're
Yeah.
walking or a bus or bike?
I mean,
Yeah,
if you
that
look
would, that
at
would
the
convey
community
that.
facilities and stuff, you're talking about the beaches too.
Yep. People in their parking and stuff like that.
Or lack of.
Okay.
Cool.
And I don't know if maybe I missed this, but for the actual title of the board, should I add /services to it?
Services, yes.
I'd like to see community services,
Yeah.
facilities,
Yes.
and infrastructure.
There's a strong opinion from, I like it. It's great. No, it's great. Community services, facilities, and infrastructure. Sounds great.
I concur.
Everything, all
It means
inclusive.
rescue squad, it means
Yep.
police walking a beat down in Harrisburg. You don't know what it means to people, but everybody's.
Okay. Well,
Does that accomplish what you need from us, Ally?
yes. Yep. And I'll follow up. I'm taking notes, but I'll have some follow-up questions.
Sure.
And, I'll get all the edits compiled.
We appreciate you jumping in like this midstream. Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully. I think that's all I have. Is there anything else that I missed?
Christine,
That you guys
anything
think of?
else that we should?
I think Ally and I have, and Sharon have, and Karen have enough to
Yeah.
go on and maybe make some refinements, and then,
Yeah, we'll,
Get back to
I'm
Joyce
happy to, we can,
summer.
we can powwow before it.
Yep.
Keep spreading the word. Anybody who can be there that day, I think it helps. I think we humanize. The response on the social media is that there's actually like people paying attention. I mean, maybe those are just the people that comment, but it's a biased selection, but it's like supportive and warm. We don't have too many egg throwers. So like we keep that going.
Invite them to join us to do.
Yes.
I just.
Yeah, please. Any
I-
last,
no,
any
I
other
just-
thoughts?
I just wanted to say that I'm going to be out of town for the second one, but I will be at the first one.
I have to work it for the day of the first one. I'll be at the second one, so.
It's all team. Go team. Go team.
We'll be
Yeah.
one brain and two
Yeah.
bodies.
Yes.
She's got a better brain, but.
I don't know
So,
about that.
from a logistics standpoint then, what time do you want the committee members there? Because I don't think we want to walk in at 10 o'clock
No.
Saturday.
Half hour, 45.
I'll give you directions. Don't worry. We'll hit closer to hit closer to the time, and you know, Tyke and Bonnie's gonna bring all the supplies and stuff. You just have to bring your spirit. Do you guys? This is my bias. You always
team shirts.
I was gonna say, always lubricate these things with food and coffee. So I just, you know, what's the deal with that? Christine, bring us up to speed.
I'm reaching out with town administration to see what we have for a budget to get some Cape Roots coffee and
Awesome.
maybe some light snacks or,
Yeah.
or muffins and
Yeah.
bread.
I was gonna even say I'll bake, but like you said,
if they say no, I'll just go get a bunch of stuff. It's fine. Just let me know.
Let's we'll lubricate with
coffee.
that. It'll be good. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for just keep us posted because we'd like it. I think, you know, we clearly to do something of this scale, we need Ty and Bond's expertise, but what really makes it effective is also the human touch. So.
Before we sort of move on the sort of forums, separate and apart from this is our local community activists and petitioner to town meeting, Patrick Otten.
Okay.
He's scheduling on the petition articles 3 forums on Wednesday, April 3rd, Thursday, April 18th, and Saturday, April 27th at the 204 to cover his batch of articles, you know, explain them
Okay.
to the folks.
I don't think we don't conflict, right? Oh, yay.
What?
We don't conflict.
No, we don't.
Awesome.
I made sure that the times didn't conflict.
Nice.
You know, some of his petition articles sort of delve into, you know, like the tree ordinance and landscape management is sort of something that would be of interest probably as we go forward. He's asked me to do a presentation on the housing article I submitted, which I'll do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
We're ahead of schedule. Lovely. Anything else we haven't covered? New business officially. Is there anything you need from us, Christine? All right. This is very productive. Thank you so much, Allie, and thank you, Karen. We appreciate it so much.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Brian. We're jealous you're warm, but
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
I was almost going to show the sunset, but I thought, no.
Do we have a motion to adjourn? All right. Take a
Second.
vote. We do have to officially a vote. Roll call. Brian from
Roll
the
call.
No, make them go last. He said something.
I vote adjourn.
Brian.
Votes adjourned.
Margot?
Yes,
Joyce.
I vote adjourn.
Garrett, adjourn.
Bernadette adjourn.
Barbara, adjourn, for sure.
Unanimous. All right.
early.
Thank you, everyone.